Hi, everybody. Long time no see. So I'm going to give a quick recap, kind of about what OpSci is, what the DeSci DID registry is, and why we're doing that. But I want to make sure that everybody who's here today has an opportunity to enter themselves into the first academic social graph that's put on-chain, right? That links your off-chain academic activity using orgID with your on-chain reputation and history. So if you'd like to be a part of that, please do get started by downloading MetaMask, or if you have MetaMask already, make sure it's updated. Scan this POAP, and when you scan this POAP QR code in MetaMask, use MetaMask to do that. And if you don't know how, just ask someone next to you. And this will airdrop you all the tokens that you'll need to get through the demo. All right, so now that I got that out of the way, make sure I didn't forget to tell you guys that. Hi, everybody. My name is Shadi Aldamati. If you were here earlier, you probably caught my intro. I'm a cognitive neuroscientist building tooling for DAOs in DeSci. So I started OpSci about a year ago to kind of think about how I could make my research better by running my lab in the cloud and taking principles of open source with me and putting them into the tooling, open science and open source, and putting them into the tooling that we use for DeSci, or for science in general. So this project actually started out of a need that was demonstrated when we were working on a Filecoin grant to archive large amounts of data on Filecoin to make it available for other researchers. And so we realized that if we did deploy a decentralized data commons or data marketplace, that we would need strong guarantees of identity. So we put out a call in January to our community at the OpSci DAO halls to start thinking about what's a transcendent academic credential could look like in Web3. We put out that call, and then at ETH Denver, we put together a pitch for the hackathon. And that hackathon, we assembled a team, and actually we built something, a working, functioning product that was able to store ORCID credentials on chain. ORCID is the identity tool for academics, if you didn't catch that already. And won a couple prizes, and then we doubled down over the past couple weeks and pushed this demo out for you guys to take part in today. All right, so autonomous DeSci protocols need an open and persistent identity layer. Okay, so we have orgID. That's the Web 2 version. What it's there for is basically allowing researchers to prove, not even really prove who they are, but to make sure that a particular researcher's name matches up with their academic history, and so you prevent issues of impersonation, supposedly, or at least assumedly, impersonation or mixed identities. It also allows for tracking of research activity across different journals and websites. So when you publish a paper, you're supposed to use your orgID. They highly encourage that you do that so that you can kind of have your research accessible, not only your research, your peer reviews, your data, and so on and whatnot. So as you can tell, orgID will only work if there's widespread adoption. And they're doing pretty well, actually. Right now, there's 50% of scientists have been reported to be using orgID. But again, that's kind of clustered within very specific countries and cultural practices. So I've been talking about DeSci and DeSci Dapps. What are DeSci Dapps? I mean, this space is brand new. It's nascent. People are building, and we have only a few examples of what DeSci could look like. Here are a few hypothetical or work-in-progress Dapps. So, for example, one thing that distinguishes Web 3 from Web 2 is that protocols on blockchains or smart contract consensus layers are always on. So what you can have is a permissionless automated journal where anybody can submit a paper permissionlessly, right? You don't have to go to an editor and query them. I mean, maybe there is an editor you could talk to, but you don't need their permission to do so. And then all of the matching between peer reviewers or with resources for archival and so on and so forth, for cross-referencing, cross-listing, is all done in a way that there is no centralized party that's performing that or maintaining that. It's a protocol, it's a public good. So some other examples could be decentralized data or protocol markets for laboratory services, kind of like what LabDAO is doing. And of course, on the back end, we're really effectively building the first interoperable knowledge graph in DeSci. That's something that a lot of us, I believe, here are striving for. So what do DeSci Dapps need to succeed? The data needs to be interoperable. So link data from LabDAO, from NeuroDAO, from Axon DAO, from all the other DAOs that I can't all mention in the space that I have, needs to be portable, right? So if a user is interacting in one ecosystem, they should be able to take their reputation, their history, and bring that into another ecosystem and contribute to the ongoing knowledge graph.
Credentials need to be verified, and this is a safety feature against permissionless apps. Right now in Web3, permissionless is actually a bug, not really a feature. Anybody could, at this point, if we just use orgID as is, could submit a paper as Albert Einstein and assume his identity and his reputation and use that to wreak havoc on ongoing debates about nature of universe and cosmology. Another really important thing is to be able to maximize discoverability. So where the graph structure is embedded by default in the protocols that we use and not after the fact where we take existing data and then do meta-analyses to plug it all in. It should be just a feature of the infrastructure we use. And then some other kind of really important, but I'll just glance over these because I really want to take you guys through the demo, is it needs to be user-owned, right? orgID claims to be user-owned, but it's not. It's running on services that are operated by orgID. There needs to be transparent governance. So the community, the people that actually use the service should have a say in how it runs and how it's organized, and what the rules are for payments or sustainability long-term for the project.
Developers need to be able to use it really simply. All right, so to solve this, we built Holonym. It's a decentralized identity layer for DeSci web services and apps. So it's actually an on-chain protocol with a smart contract library that you can import the module, and you can perform different actions on identities that have been stored on-chain. So what this enables are actually very versatile web views on web applications that can generate views on the underlying data. The DeSci DID directory is just one example of that. Anybody could write a front end that resolves the information that's being stored on chain along with any other linked metadata that's associated with that. For example, resolving papers or maybe token gating things or based on activity, and I'll give you guys an example of that. So the name actually comes from Holonym. It's in respect to Nick Szabo, who you guys might know as a original CryptoPunk. In '94, he published one of the first instances of describing smart contracts, and then in '96, he came back and talked about virtual persona and how important pseudonymity is on the decentralized internet. So he called these NIMs, right? NIMs are little pieces of information about a person. I have 3 minutes. Wow, I'm talking way too much. Okay, so let's do the demo. Yeah, so if you want to get started with this, go ahead and download MetaMask. Here's the link. You can open up MetaMask and do so. So I'm just leave that up there one more moment. I see a couple people with their phones out. If you haven't, please do claim the PO app. You will be airdropped some XDAI. And go ahead and scan this code to get to opsci.io. And once that happens, you'll be able to, and if you're not able to follow, you can just, here's the POAP code again one more time. You can go to verse.opsci.io. It'll prompt you to switch to the Gnosis network. Just wait a second for the smart contracts to load. Then you'll be able to create your ID starting with your bio. And you'll be submitting for fractions of a cent. So this is, XDAI is priced 1-to-1 with the US dollar, so these are really, really cheap transactions. You can add your other identities, like your orgID. And you sign 2 transactions. It's a commit reveal. I won't explain that now, but it's important to prevent front running in case someone wants to steal your valuable identity. And then you can add more accounts. So when you do create your account, you'll be able to create a QR code like this, and if you scan that, you'll be taken to my profile page. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, or see my publication history, which actually isn't linked on ORCID, but I should probably do that, or send me an email, you can do that by scanning this QR code. And you can also do that with each other if you'd like to. And I think that's it. If you do have any feedback on this, we are giving NFTs to people who complete our user research survey. Thank you.